Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Friday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. The Lakers are back to work tonight in Minnesota, but LeBron James didn't make the flight. Talk about who's going to play next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. This one's always free, never behind a paywall. And Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 26,000 subscribers to the channel, Andy, all of whom are wondering what's going on with LeBron James, because he did not. I realized after listening to myself say the cold open, I said he didn't make the flight as if he was like late or something like that. He just missed it, like he overslept. He didn't travel because presumably because his foot is still bugging him and the Lakers want to give more rest. He has not been with the team this week, remains not with the team because the team is in Minnesota and he is not. So we'll talk about that, who is going to start, and Austin Reaves may or may not be available for tonight's game. He is listed as questionable. Want to let everybody know that today's episode brought to you by Robinhood. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. So no LeBron. When we were doing our big wonder what's going on episode for Thursday, we certainly did talk about the possibility that the health is the reason that LeBron isn't with the team. He does
as
not
opposed to health, but also messaging, passive aggressiveness, yada yada yada.
And the good news is you don't even have to choose. It can be a lot of things. But
we offered the idea that it could be both, as opposed to just one, the passive aggressiveness,
right? And it could just be health. And so all the messaging from Brian Windhorst, who did the reporting at ESPN, was, if you missed it, the Warriors are again kicking the tires on LeBron James, would be very interested in acquiring him, is the report, if LeBron were to make himself available, which, by the way, again, he has to do because the Lakers can't just trade him to the Warriors. He has to agree to be traded to the Warriors. So Windy noted that there is no indication that LeBron wants to do that, but his lack of presence in El Segundo, I don't know, got people talking. So the bigger question becomes, in the short term, this health thing with his foot. He is not making the trip. Generally speaking, if you don't even travel and they're 100% sure you're not going to play, it often, I'm not going to say with LeBron because I think the rules are a little bit different, but it often means that you are a little further away from playing again right away. And I will say, if LeBron were to miss tonight's game in Minnesota and then skip Sunday's game against the Grizzlies, he would have another essentially full week to rest. It would be basically 2 weeks, almost full between games. So I'm really interested to see what the Lakers do here. And also, too, when you get a little bit more of a definitive report on what's going on.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we have not gotten a lot of clarity on in terms of what is specifically bothering him with his foot. Is this a continuation of the general foot soreness that has been something for LeBron over the last few years, or if this is something newer, more specific? I hope not, but potentially more complicated. It also raises the question beyond how do they play without LeBron for likely one, maybe 2 games coming up, and that is something we're going to talk about. It raises the question of what happens if 2 full weeks off doesn't seem to sustainably do the trick, because it goes without saying you can't keep giving LeBron 2 weeks off periodically, because that starts turning into multiple games.
Right,
but
you have this stretch where, due to the NBA Cup quirkiness of the schedule, 2 weeks means, well, he did miss the Portland game, so it would be 3 games that he would miss, including the Portland game. The only other thing that's even kind of comparable to that is the All-Star break. So, which he would probably be present at the game, but could theoretically not play.
Right. So there's a lot about this that we don't know yet, whether we're talking about present information or future outcomes, but it does reinforce something we've been talking about a lot, which is that it's just growing more difficult for LeBron to do the things that he wants to be doing and what the Lakers need for him to be doing on a game in, game out basis, because the age and attrition is just catching up more to him. Like it's as much as it is legitimately amazing that he is able to perform at this level at all this long into his season. I mean, this is truly unprecedented stuff without a template. It has not been seamless. And one of the things I point out a lot is that, and this is when people talk about LeBron being ageless, I always push back on, it looks so much damn harder for him.
Mm-hmm.
Like this stuff used to look easy for LeBron, and it doesn't anymore. And that's because LeBron, contrary to popular belief, is not a cyborg. He's human. And these things eventually catch up to all athletes. And how the Lakers go about negotiating this specific situation is one thing. And what we're eventually going to be seeing is how they go about negotiating it moving forward and what that means for the prospects of this team.
I think it's interesting too, because we discussed Thursday. Go back and listen to it if you missed Thursday's show. What's the matter with you if you did? But it happens, I understand. But go back and listen. We had this conversation, a lot of it based around like the mental versus the physical. And one of the things that strikes me is that part of the reason it looks so much harder is because when the athleticism starts to slip, you have to rely on it becomes harder because you have to be more sort of technically perfect. You have to be much more smarter about how you work your way through games. You have to be more calculated about stuff. It requires a lot more mental energy as well to do the same amount of work, to get the same output. So it gets harder physically, which makes it get harder mentally. And so I was wondering if some of this break is at least related to the idea of, recharging a little bit. You saw that even like these preseason reports of part of the reason the Lakers wanted Bronny around was the idea that LeBron would be kind of uplifted by Bronny's presence. It would give him something kind of new and charge him up a little bit and all that kind of stuff. And while I think there's a lot of that is open to interpretation, what it does reinforce is just the idea that 22 years in, finding ways to kind of, to use the cliche, to keep it fresh, is really hard. And so if he needs the break to get his foot right, and it's combined with a little time to get the brain right again, I think that's fine. But I agree with you. It raises all kinds of questions about, the rest of this year. But certainly, the time that the Lakers and LeBron have together. I mean, and all kinds of things could impact it based on what the answers to those questions are. I'm not I'm not throwing dirt on LeBron. I think I found late stage Kobe to be fascinating. I find late stage LeBron to be fascinating because so much of this is different and requires different skill sets than what these guys showed earlier in their careers.
Sure. And I mean, when you say that it's fine for LeBron, I agree in the sense that it is understandable. Like in the most literal sense, you can understand why this would be a thing, like why this would be something difficult for LeBron. It frankly requires very little intelligence at all to understand why it would be a thing. Mm-hmm. It's not fine in the sense that it becomes more difficult to actually build a functional team around this. You know what I mean? Like specifically a functional team that is built in a lot of ways, not just around LeBron, but around accommodating LeBron.
Well, but it also and to be clear, I'm not saying it's fine if he needs one of these mental breaks every, if once a month he needs to take 2 weeks.
That's simply that's not a viable
that's not
plan.
Sustainable.
That's not
But if you can do 2 things at once where the extra time off would be beneficial and it doesn't cost you a lot of games and it has the additional benefit of, then I think that's what I mean when I say it's fine. You can kind of do both things at once. The Lakers are going to take the floor tonight without LeBron, but they might take the floor with Austin Reaves back in the lineup. Whether he plays or doesn't play, they got some interesting lineup decisions to make. Cover it next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Robinhood. With Robinhood, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing requires risks. Rates may apply. Gold membership is available at Robinhood Gold LLC.
Quick reminder, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it in the bottom corner there, the free daily newsletter. You go to lockedondaily.com, click on Locked On Lakers, and then you have the show delivered to you on a daily basis. Reminder again as well that the postcast with Dave Pele will be available right after the game. It's another way to kind of take in some post-game analysis for the Lakers. And of course, we will do our regular post-game show as well. So lots and lots and lots of content for you, hopefully celebrating a Lakers win. Reaves plays versus Reaves doesn't play. Let's say he's back in the lineup. Let's be optimistic. But you still don't have LeBron. What do you think the starting lineup looks like?
It's interesting. I was looking over the last game where the Lakers lost by 29. D'Lo was the only Laker who played very well and was one of the only Lakers who played even moderately well. Like Rui had a pretty good, if not, I think, involved enough game. And everyone else was somewhere between meh and terrible. It could make the argument for putting them in the starting lineup, particularly if Reaves doesn't play. I feel like you want to get AD off to a good start, and getting AD off to a good start, I think, would be made easier and more successful by having D'Lo in there to help set him up more. Beyond that, I mean, if
Reaves doesn't start, then I think you almost have to. With no LeBron and no Reaves, I think you have to put D'Lo in the starting line.
Yeah, I mean, look, you don't have to in the sense that JJ Redick has not been doing it, and it has felt like he has been leaning towards ways, we've talked about this, to start Gabe Vincent to try to find more of an offense-defense balance.
Mm-hmm.
It's tricky to know what to do with this many one-way players and how to try to find that balance.
Right, because maybe I should walk that back a little bit, because you also do want the capacity to have some ball handling off the bench. I mean, you got to stagger. You're going to have to stagger Vincent and Russell throughout the game, and we'll probably need to play them together a lot anyway. So
right, in that, look, if Reaves isn't there, you're just staggering these two guys, period, and that's just kind of the end of it. No matter who starts, who comes off the bench, whatever. They're both going to be playing a lot. I mean, it really comes down to choices between Christie, Connect, Vincent, or D'Lo. I don't think as far as trying to predict this is what actually speaks to the problem.
It's not easy. Like, it's why I asked the question. It's like the reason you've sort of been able to not start D'Lo in part with LeBron is because, even when Reaves was out, it was because you have LeBron as that ball handler and initiator. If LeBron doesn't play and Reaves doesn't play, and you still like, I think, Max is a decent connecting passer and stuff like that. But we've tried Max Christie as even point guard or secondary ball handler. It is not good. It does not work. I asked the question as much because I think it reinforces some of the, like you just mentioned, the either or the roster shortcomings of the lack of depth the Lakers are working with right now.
Yeah. Also, too, it just the last win over Portland. I mean, I realized that was a starting 1 through 3 of Vincent, Connect, and Christie, but I don't know how much proof of concept there is from beating a team that bad.
Correct.
And to make it clear, the Lakers needed to come out and play the way they did, and D'Lo, Rui, and AD were really, really good in those games. I think by any measure they played well. I just don't know if you can say that you discovered something for the potential LeBron-less and Reeves-less lineup from that one game. If Reeves isn't there, I feel like with all the length and defensive disruptiveness that Minnesota can provide, I think it would make a lot of sense to start D'Lo just to try to get this team off to a good start offensively. I think it's important that they don't fall behind early, particularly if they're playing without LeBron and AD. I have been increasingly wondering whether it's better to play Connect off the bench because he has been seemingly out of rhythm or not involved in the same ways over the last few games.
You noted last week the home road splits for Connect are crazy.
Yes.
And even setting that aside for the moment, his recent play just hasn't been as good. And I think it is not
for those who don't remember, the last time I looked at this, Connect's 3-point percentage at home versus on the road was about 20% lower on the road and about 10-ish% overall worse from the field. Like those are, for those who don't follow splits regularly, those are very wide splits.
And the thing with Connect that I think is really important to remember is the part of the reason he's able to be effective is because you can put him with Austin Reaves and you can put him with LeBron James and you can do that stuff. And these guys who are excellent passers and creators. And so he is doing more stuff off the catch. He's doing more stuff in open floor. He's doing more things with fewer eyeballs looking at him all the time and what he's doing. And that extra 1/10 of a second, half second, whatever it is, to get your shot off, to take an extra dribble, whatever it might be, is beneficial to him. And so when you start taking really good players out of the lineup, it hurts supporting guys like Connect, I think, even more. And so, because you're still not, turning your offense over to him. And I'm not sure the results would be that good, even if he's still a rookie. So I think you can't look at Connect as the same player when Reeves and LeBron don't play. And so then moving him to the bench becomes less of a sacrifice. I think you're not being like, well, where is the scoring going to come from? Because it's not going to come from Connect, I don't think. If some of these, it is less likely to come from Connect if some of these other guys aren't available in the starting lineup. That's so I think that plays into Redick's calculus here too.
Were I to guess, if both LeBron and both LeBron and Reeves don't play, that I'm going to guess that JJ is going to go with the lineup that started against Portland. That's just my guess.
Mm-hmm.
If Reeves is back, my guess is it's going to be Gabe, Reeves, Connect, Rui, AD. That's my guess.
Keep Connect in the starting lineup.
Yep, that's my guess.
I'm kind of getting fond of the idea of starting Max in these situations as he's starting to play a little bit better. We talked about this earlier in the week. I mean, none of it is you're picking from a lot of imperfect options, but in terms of trying to get the best defensive lineup where you're still not totally sacrificed, the way Max is moving, I think it's the shot is starting to come a little bit and all that kind of stuff. And he really is a significantly better defender than Dalton Connect. you lose a little bit of that 3-point threat. But if Connect isn't sort of producing at that high level, I'm not sure how much. I think at this point, on the sort of streak he's on, any team, Minnesota or whoever, will make him prove it before they start being like, don't help, stay on him, and opening up those lanes that are so critical.
Either way, the thing that I don't anticipate happening is D'Lo starting. They seem more inclined to keep D'Lo in that bench role. We shall see. I think you can make strong arguments for starting him. It's just not what I think is going to happen.
So we see all kinds of like player polls and stuff like that where guys like get ranked, Andy, because based on like, whether it's media doing it or other players or whatever. ESPN has a very interesting survey out where they polled front office people about the best front office people in the league. And spoiler alert, Rob Pelinka did not finish high. We'll talk about it next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel. You can tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and you get $150 in bonus bets if you win. So find a very obvious looking no-brainer. Put down just $5. You win it, boom, you get $150. And FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. And that's really important because if it feels like during a game that you are just anticipating everything before it's happening, you got a real good idea of not just game-turning plays, but the statistics that are coming from them, but you just want to confirm your hunches, you can check out the latest stats and view live play-by-play and so much more on that exact same page where you would have your action. So visit FanDuel.com to join today. And again, you get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
So I'm going to count backwards, Andy, on this ESPN poll that was.
It's The Athletic.
Sorry, The Athletic. Thank you. I realized that after I said it when you got into the break. But The Athletic has their poll where they surveyed front office people across the league, and 10 teams were sort of ranked, and then there's an also receiving votes. At number 10, the San Antonio Spurs behind R.C. Buford, longtime leader there. And the Golden State Warriors at number 9. Number 8, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Number 7, the Orlando Magic. Some people might be surprised by that, but they've done a really nice job putting that team back together. The Knicks with Leon Rose at number 6. They've had a pretty remarkable turnaround, and Leon Rose has done good work there. Tim Connolly with the Minnesota Timberwolves is number 5. Number 4, the Memphis Grizzlies and Zach Kleiman. That is a low-key outstanding effort. Pat Riley with the Heat at number 3. The Boston Celtics and Brad Stevens at number 2. Not really hard to explain that one, and really no surprise here. Sam Presti at number 1 with the Oklahoma City Thunder. We'll get back to why he's number 1 here in a second. Some things that jumped out to both of us even before we started talking about it. But Andy, there's another section for also receiving votes. Just like you would in any other poll or survey. Indiana and Houston are in there, and then Philadelphia, the Utah Jazz, the Dallas Mavericks, the Brooklyn Nets, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Toronto Raptors, and even the Washington Wizards and LA Clippers, Andy, each got a single vote. Nothing for the Lakers. Not even a measly also receiving votes.
I'm not going to lie. It is not surprising. I mean, before we even get into the merits of Rob Pelinka's tenure, how many accolades he deserves, does not deserve, the impression I've always gotten is that he is not particularly popular among his peers. So that's always going to be an obstacle from the get-go. The idea that most of your peers, at least from what I've heard and impressions I've seen, don't particularly like him. So that's not going to help. That being said, the last, handful of years, championship acknowledged and a Western Conference run acknowledged, has been very up and down for the Lakers. There is the Russ deal. There is the Alex Caruso decision. There is the 3 coaches since 2019 thing. Like there's also just the lack of definitive direction with this organization, or seemingly not just what the direction is, but methodology to get there.
I think the perception is that what they've won, they've tend to win by accident, or at the very least that there was nothing particularly innovative or insightful about the way that Rob put the team together. And then if you're working with a foundation of LeBron James and Anthony Davis, you ought to be able to get yourself to a finals. You ought to be able to have a Western Conference Finals in there somewhere. And I think there's a perception, and I don't think it's unfair, that the Lakers front office is really bad at details. They've made a lot of small mistakes that have hurt them over the course of the last few years, whether it's how you put together a contract, whether that's 2 years versus 3, whether it's all these little things that we've discussed throughout the time on the show. And so I'm not surprised, even with these sort of, I agree with you, kind of anti-Rob inclination that I think most front offices have, and I don't think a lot of other executives are itching to give tons of credit to the Lakers anyway. So fine, but setting all that aside, he doesn't belong in the top 10 to begin with. What really stuck out to me, and I know stuck out to you as well, though, is when you go and you read this rundown, and it's put together by Sam Amick and John Hollinger and Mike Vorkunov at The Athletic. It's not just Sam Presti, it's the entire front office at the Thunder that rank really highly. And you start to go through it, and it's Presti, and they list a bunch of people that people may not know about. And Rob Hennigan, and a guy named Jesse Gould has been there forever, and Wynn Sullivan, another executive who's been there for a really long time. And there's this depth of leadership and depth of expertise and knowledge inside this front office that goes beyond the guy that most people think is the best in the league anyway. He is also surrounding himself with other excellent people. And that's what really stuck out to me, is you have this fantastic front office, or fantastic executive, and it's part of a really good front office where you have multiple minds all working and all doing stuff and making things happen. And the Lakers don't have that.
No, it's an extension of a big issue I've had with this organization going back to when Jim Buss and Mitch Kupchak were running it post, Dr. Buss's passing. And, that's when it especially became, I think, really important, because they lost that leadership at the top that, that everybody had confidence in. They're too insulated for their own good. Like Rob Pelinka's hiring was in part a result of that insulation. Magic, when he was Rob's boss, was in part a byproduct of that insulation. Kurt Rambis, Linda Rambis, like it is all people with these very direct, tangible connections to the Lakers that seemingly gives Jeannie Buss, I don't even want to say confidence as much as comfort in having them there. And it's become very clear that Jeannie values her personal confidence and her personal comfort in the people that she puts at the top of the organization more than their professional acumen.
But it goes beyond that.
And she won't look, she will not, but I think it matters, because if you will not look beyond that immediate circle, unless that immediate circle consists of incredible minds, you're never going to find anybody else.
Sure, but that's not even it. It's, at least to me, I agree with you that they're too insular and they always look to the people they know and all this other stuff. But that does not necessarily preclude them from hiring 4 other people to work in the basketball ops department. That either happens because Rob Pelinka doesn't want to, because he doesn't want to put more people around him. He doesn't want to have the guy in the front office who could theoretically be his replacement. Or it happens because Jeannie doesn't want to pay for it. Or it's a sort of combination of those two things.
Or she's uncomfortable paying anybody that she doesn't know as well.
Okay, then that's a failure of ownership.
Look, if she's that easy, this is why I don't buy what you're putting out there. If Jeannie wanted to do this, unless she is that easily manipulated by Pelinka, this is something she would say, I want to do this. You're either on board with it, Rob, or go hit the bricks and find a different job. She clearly doesn't want to do that.
I do not think the reason that the Lakers don't have more people in their front office is because Jeannie's uncomfortable hiring outside the organization. Outside that, I think it's because but like there are a lot of things that Jeannie could do, whatever, where if she was a different kind of owner, might draw a harder line in the sand with Pelinka. If Rob came to her and said, I want to hire these 3 people, and they're not people that are rich with Lakers ties, and he said, I want to hire these people, and she said no, then, is she saying no because I don't know them? We'll bring them in for an interview and stuff like that. I think it happens because either the organization doesn't want to pay for it, or Rob doesn't want to add more people to his front.
But it's all circular, because the beginning piece of this is always people that she knows.
But that's what I'm getting is, does Rob want more people? Has he gone to Jeannie Buss? If she's saying no, then that is a failure on Jeannie. It's still a failure to be like, for her not to say, I demand that you find 4 more people to go into that. But that's not the kind of executive that she is. She just doesn't operate that way. And so she defers to these people that she is comfortable with. And clearly there are not voices in that organization. If she's willing to pay for it, there are not people in the organization telling her that it's necessary, because the leaders in there tend to be people who are more interested in CYA than they are, or let me finish, or she is choosing not to spend the money. I do not believe that Rob and Kurt and Linda and all these people are coming to her and saying, we need more people in this front office. And she's just like, yeah, I could pay for it. I don't mind that. It's not the money. It's just that I don't know them. I don't believe that.
But I think you're missing a simpler issue. She doesn't see the need for it to begin with.
That's
beyond price, beyond comfort level, whatever. She doesn't see. But
shouldn't the people then that, and that's also a failure of the people who work for her to not tell her we need more people here. Because the people that I agree, here's where I think I agree with you. They are, again, more interested in CYA, and they do not want other people in the front office that can point a light on their own failures. So you get the worst of both. But there are many potential explanations as to why the Lakers front office is as small as it is. All of them are bad.
Sure.
All of them.
Yeah.
And so, like, I believe that the starting point is they don't cast the net wide enough. Absolutely. But I don't think that's the ultimate explanation as to why they are in the situation they're in with the small staffs that they have scouting everywhere up and down the organization. It's
that
money,
may be,
and
that
it's
may
people
be,
who don't want other people around.
That may be, but to me, it's the ultimate cause, because if you were comfortable going outside the organization, you just would have found other people and canned everyone that's currently there. She will not go outside the organization, outside that inner circle that's been with her for 20, 30 years. Therefore,
I wonder if the people that she's hired are even recommending it. They should be. I wonder if they are.
Well, again, I put it more on her as the person in charge to recognize what needs to happen than the people that work under her to hold her hand.
I can live with that. I'm not trying to absolve Jeannie. I'm just saying,
I know you're not.
There's a lot of responsibility with everybody. And I don't think the people, and I think it is a flaw in the people that she's hired, that they do not want smart people around.
Well, then maybe part of the problem also is that, while these people might be lovely as people outside of that organization, she does not judge her inner circle particularly well in terms of their professional character.
Have you mentioned a few times you don't necessarily think she's great at her job as the lead owner of the team from a basketball standpoint?
I have.
Well, this is part of the reason why. So so anyway, That's all the time we have. There's a game tonight. We'll be back afterwards. Of course, check out the postcast, check out the newsletter and Locked On Lakers on YouTube, and you go hang out, subscribe there. Lots of ways to stay in contact with the show. We'll see everyone after the game.